everyone. Welcome. My name is Lois with Aussie Lozzie Knit Designs, and this is Knit Bits. We're talking about the portion of the pattern today that is the knitting needles and why that information is important and how we can substitute needles if we need to. So just like yarn, the knitting needles can be subbed out to fit your preference and whatever you need in order to match gauge. The most important part is that you match gauge. And so while there is a suggested knitting needle size, and most of the time, hopefully that's going to work out, it doesn't mean that that's the needle size that you have to use. Because if you do a gauge swatch, which you should do, and we don't always do, but if you do, then you can use that suggested needle size. And if you come up short or too big or whatever the issue is, you can then adjust your knitting needle size. You don't change the yarn, you change your knitting needle size. You can change other things too. You could try a different material. I know that there are some people who knit with one size needle when they're on the knit side and then do a different size needle on the purl side because their knit and purl stitches aren't even, and that way they get a more even gauge. So another thing that the knitting needles portion includes is it will tell you to use straight needles or double pointed needles or circular or something like that. This is also something that you can adjust to your own preference. If it says straight needles and it's knitting flat, you can use circular as long as they're, big enough to hold your knitting. If it says straight and you want to use double pointed needles because you've got them on hand, as long as it will fit the amount of stitches on the needle and not fall off the other end, you can go ahead and use double pointed needles. I'm constantly using just whatever needle I can find first and not always worried about is this the needle type that has been told to me, like circular or straight. And I'm a big fan of the magic loop method, because I don't lose my one of my double pointed needles. I magic loop everything. I also prefer to knit my socks and my gloves 2 at a time. So I'm a magic loop girl. And so if it says double pointed needles, I always sub out and do extra large circulars, like a 40-inch or something. So there's a lot of ways that you can adjust your knitting needles. And I would really tell you that when it talks about the knitting needle in a pattern, that is a suggested. It's not as important as the yarn. It's not, going to tell you you have to use plastic needles or wood needles or metal. No, it just tells you the type. And then if it's like a big item, like a blanket, it might say you need 60-inch circulars. And that's just so it can hold all of those stitches without anything falling off the end. So the other thing I wanted to mention about knitting needles, let's say you're working to get gauge and you use the suggested knitting needle size and you work up a swatch and you're pretty close, not far off, a little far off, but you don't want to knit another gauge swatch because who does really? What you might think to yourself is, well, you know what? I'm so close. I bet if I just knit tightly, I can meet gauge. Or if I just knit loosely, I can meet gauge. So I'm just going to do this anyway and just try to knit more loosely or try to knit more tightly for the whole project. That is not a good option because we will always revert to our natural knitting rhythm. And so why that might seem like, oh, that's such a great idea because then I don't have to do another swatch. And I'm pretty close. Like I'm a couple stitches off. It's no big deal. And the end result will be that you're going to be off because that's not your natural rhythm. So it's better if you, like, especially if you're knitting something like a sweater, being a couple stitches off on a 4x4-inch square can end up being several stitches off and inches off in the larger project. And so it's actually really important. So you don't want to put yourself into a larger project like that and be like, okay, well, I'll just knit loosely when you're a tight knitter. It's okay that you're a tight knitter, use different needles. Now, if you're knitting something like a scarf or a blanket or a dishcloth or something, those few stitches might not matter as much to you. Like, who's going to get your blanket and pull out the measuring tape is 36 inches wide. Like, that's probably not going to happen. So you can go ahead and not worry about those stitches, right? Use your judgment. But definitely if you're knitting something like a sweater, that gauge really matters. And so your knitting needle choice will matter too. Okay, so I'll be back again tomorrow and we'll talk notions. Have a great day. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thanks.